Well, what are we going to try and do next? This is the scene of a minor disaster. Yeah, things to do there. That was plastered in there, and in this corner here, buried in the plaster, was an electric wire which I've removed. It was a very old electric wire, let's face it, it was underneath the plaster. Had to come out, it's come out, and when I looked at the plaster, I very gingerly put a screwdriver between the plaster and whatever was above it. I didn't know what was above it. And that piece of plaster simply dropped, made a big bang, made me jump a bit. And what we find is we've got, I'm going to call them poutres. We've got wooden beams with gaps in them, and they're pretty nasty, and the gaps are pretty big. And we've got a patch there that needs plastering, and yeah, that's going to be something to do this afternoon, I think. I think that's what we're doing this afternoon, but what I'm doing immediately is cooking lunch. And for lunch today, an egg laid yesterday. Yes, that's my pay for taking a lady to church on a Sunday. Well, in keeping with all the other jobs, it gets worse before it gets better. Oh dear. When I rattled along there with an hammer, it all sounded hollow and loose, and it was. So I think there's a bit more got to be chopped out before we can start to make good. Yeah, this wasn't actually going to be a difficult job. This was going to be a quick splat with some plaster and make it all pretty. Well, that's changed. Never mind. Well, by now you know the drill with this caper. You hit it until all the loose stuff has dropped out, and then you mix some show and you shove wet show in all of the holes and let it go off. Ah dear. Yeah, then what we're going to do is we're going to scrub this up with a nylon brush in the drill, and we'll fill those gaps with plaster. I'll put a wire mesh in there before I do that, give it a fighting chance, and scrub the bottom clean, and then we'll varnish all of that and we'll make it a feature. Yeah, and that, in some ways, that's I think one of the better ways of doing it, because it, first off, it gives you another ½ an inch of height on this door frame, but secondly, it lets you see what's happening to the timber, you know, in case it gets attacked by ants, termites, whatever. I don't actually like plastered over beams. I like them where I can see what they're doing. This one's sort of interesting. You know, that actually looks, I'll try it with a screwdriver later. It looks as if it's split. But as long as it holds the wall up, while the repairs are underway, need to mix a little bit more show just to push in there, leave it to go off. I suspect it will shrink a little bit, and then we can look at tomorrow getting that all plastered up and looking respectable. yeah, things to do. Isn't it marvellous?